to that just yet.
The living toy must enjoy our contests.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the build guide for my league starter for 3.24, which is Puncture Deadeye. And actually, I've already played an iteration of this build quite a few times before. It's just that I wanted to abuse the interaction between Ralakesh and Maven's Belt for this league, and just to see how it's going to fare with the new updated mechanics to further bump my damage. Without further ado, let's begin. Okay, first up is a build intro. I'm just going to cover a little bit on how the build is designed around. First, it's using Rupturing Ascendancy, which is a fairly forgotten Ascendancy under Deadeye, and it causes critical strike, which inflict build bleeding, to also inflict a special debuff called Rupture. Rupture causes where is it? Let me open it first. Rupture causes affected target to take more damage from bleeding, also causes bleeding to expire 25% more quickly, and it can stacks up to 3 times. So Rupture is something that's basically functions, it decreases the duration of your bleeding by a lot, but also increases the damage by a lot. So it causes your bleed to be more concentrated in a sense. Now, the main skill that we'll be using with that particular ascendancy point is Puncture. Puncture is an attack that simply is simply designed for bleed damage. Due to this line right here, more damage with bleeding, and also quality, also it gives more damage with more damage with bleeding. And the best part is the three main point of Puncture is: number one, it has more damage with bleeding modifier on the gem. Number two, it causes bleeding. Causes bleeding means it has 100% chance to bleed, so you don't have to even path to the bleed part of the skill tree. And finally, it lasts 8 seconds. Normal bleed typically only lasts around, where is it? Second. Base duration of bleed is 5 seconds. So Puncture is by default a longer lasting bleed, which synergizes really well with Rupture that tries to concentrate the bleed by a lot, because the way bleed works is usually we build the damage by having high range of rolls from minimum damage to maximum damage. So having you need to have enough duration to make sure that you can reapply the bleed with a high damage roll as you attack the enemy. Okay. So as mentioned, for this particular version, we'll be using the Ralakesh Impatience interaction with Maven's Belt. So Relic Impatient makes you have the effect of count as having maximum charges, all of them. And Alicia's Delight change your Frenzy charge to Affliction charge. Affliction charge gives more damage with Element, which works with Bleed, so 8% more damage on top of Frenzy charge, which gives 4% more damage. So a single charge would give us 12% more damage actually, just from these two items alone. And it also doesn't stop you from benefiting from the original version of Frenzy charge. So that's that. Okay, so let me show you the gameplay in a while. Okay, so the playstyle is simple. You just tap your puncture, your snipe. You need to hold it a little bit longer to gain that single stage. If you just give one tap, it'll show you that it doesn't really goes out properly. So tap a little bit longer, and then fully charge for. Sorry, because we didn't have mana leech. Fully charge when you meet tougher enemy, and then just shoot ensnaring arrow in between. So tap snipe, tap ensnaring arrow, and then at times the green one are the mana forge frenzy arrows. So those are your 3 arrow setup. So charge when meeting tougher enemies, and then hit them with ensnaring arrows. Make sure you have mana leech to maintain your mana sustain. And then for meeting normal enemies, just do a short tap to give that single stage puncture, which is also in most cases strong enough. Oh, and this is something I also wanted to highlight. If you're familiar with Bleed Bow builds, you would know that typically it's only played by the Gladiator Ascendancy. As you can see here, Puncture, main skill, 91% is played by Gladiator, and the second highest are Champions, which is basically people taking Forbidden Flame and Flash to yoink a modifier of the Gladiator Ascendancy. And the version that we're using is actually using Deadeye, which is 0.5% of the leaderboard, and it's only played by myself and another guy. So the main reason we play Deadeye is not just because of the rupturing ascendancy. It's also because of the typical problem encountered when you playing a typical bleed bow. Let's take one bleed character here, for example. As you can see here, they use 2 main skill, which is split arrow and puncture. So the good thing about split arrow, the thing about split arrow and puncture is that split arrow works really well with clear, but is very lacking in single target. And puncture is actually very good in single target, but the problem with puncture is that it's very skill based when you don't have any projectile modifying behavior, in the sense that you really need to charge and really properly land your hit. And as mentioned before, bleed bow builds usually have high variance of minimum and maximum damage, so at all times you want to keep the dice rolling on inflicting the bleed on enemy to make sure that the bleed inflicted is the one with the highest damage goal. And because of that, you really can't afford to miss with your punctures, and it feels really bad when you're playing very juice content where you can't really aim your puncture properly to land consistent hits. And the good thing about Deadeye is that where is it? Wait, okay. The good thing about Deadeye is that Deadeye has access to all the required projectile modifying behavior from the Ascendancy and skill tree, which is Ricochet for chain, Endless Munition for additional projectile, Master Fletcher and Multi-Shot for further additional projectile. This gives our puncture 5 projectile counts and 1 chain, which can also chain off terrain, and when projectile chains, it auto targets to the nearby enemy. So in a sense, it's it really brings down difficulty of landing the consistent puncture. So it turns your puncture into a combination of split arrow and puncture from the traditional bleed bow builds, so that you only have to use one skill, one button. The only difference is that whether you charge your snipe single stage or maximum stage, depending on clear or single target when you meet as you play the game. Okay, next up we're moving to the pros and cons of the build, and as usual I'm just going to be reading it off my notes that I've written in the POB. So okay, first up, before I cover the pros and cons, just a heads up, there's a budget configuration, and here are the steps to change the POB into a budget version if you want to start playing the build. And it can actually start as early as just getting a hemophilia gloves, because that's your gladiator ascendancy in a glove already. Okay, pros and cons. Number one, combined split arrow and puncture. I already covered that. Excellent clearing speed because of corpse explosion. We're using hemophilia, so functions like gladiator's corpse explosion. Snipe playstyle. If you see from my gameplay video, you can see that when I meet tougher enemies that I'm planning to minimize the risk, I can just off-screen him and charge my puncture from very far away. It has a respectable DPS for endgame. This is the DPS, but just for your info, as usual, bleed. The problem with bleed build is that it's not as consistent as like landing a normal hit build, so it's not 100% uptime, and because of the variance and whatnot, so you're probably looking at maybe around 70% of this figure would be a more conservative approximation of the actual DPS, because it depends on your playstyle also. It's decent tanky because we have high armor, spell suppression. Sorry, excuse me. And it's also cheap to start and gear, but scalable to end game. The cons, it's unique dependent. So as usual, I like to plan my build with unique interaction. It has a channeling playstyle, so you're standing still, and if you're not aware of when you can and when you cannot stand still, it's going to get you killed. So you need to get used to playing it a little bit. So again, playstyle needs a bit of getting used to, and it's also slightly more difficult to scale than traditional bleed bow builds, because a lot of the damage is locked behind the uniques itself. Okay, up next is the offensive and defensive layers of the build, and let's see. First up, offensive layers. We're using snipe, puncture plus Deadeye's projectile behavior modifier. So I already covered this. Most of this in the build intro, and inside the short gameplay preview, also shown you how to properly play the build. Basically, you tap button a bit longer for single stage shot for clear, and hold button for when meeting tougher enemies, and you tap ancillary arrow in between to apply ancillary arrow debuff, maim, and also Rupture debuff. Okay, number 2, frenzy charge and affliction charge stacking. I think this mechanic is already famous. A lot of people have been using it already, so I think it's famous enough. But just to summarize, basically we are utilizing the capability to gain both frenzy and affliction charge using Relakash boots for major DPS upgrade on our bleed build. And lastly is crit ailment bin, which is we have high crit chance to apply Rupture, and because Rupture is something that is applied when attack both crit and bleed, so we need to consistently attack the enemy, which we do using our main skill Puncture, utility 1 Ensnaring Arrow, and finally utility 2 Frenzy, which is automated using Mana Forge Arrow. And next is defensive layers. The build has high armor, 100% spell suppression, stun immunity, elemental immunity. Armor, we have 63,000. We're converting it using Iron Reflex Keystone right here. and the rest are from Grace, Molten Shell, Flask, and Tree, whatnot. So spell suppression we get from Body Armor and Skill Tree. Just something I need to note. Actually, this is not true 100% spell suppression because we're utilizing this node right here, where it gives a chance to suppress spell damage on full life. So I'm ticking the box always on full life to get 100% spell suppression. And I can confidently tick this box because the build has high enough life regen and life leech for me to and high flash uptime to consist to for me confidently say that I can maintain a full life most of the time. And stun immunity we're getting from Tree and Tattoos. Here you can see chance to avoid being stunned. I think it was 8 tattoos, and also from here Heart of Oak, which gives a chance to avoid being stunned. And also something I forgot to mention, you can also use tattoo to cap your spell suppression if you're not comfortable with having this kind of not true 100% spell suppression during play. It's all up to you. And lastly, elemental element immunity is something we get from Beauty of Elements. Beauty of Elements is something that we run once we have Hours Uprising, which gives Beauty of Elements has no reservation. So it gives us a lot of elemental resistances and also element immunity. And the elemental resistances are also welcome because the build utilizes a lot of unique, so can be a bit of a struggle to maintain to cap your resistances and also have some form of chaos resistance. Number 2, life regen, life leech, and high flash uptime. So we're getting life regen from Pikazaru. This is actually a lot of life regen. Numerically, it's around 1.5 times the value of max level Vitality Aura at level 96. So yeah, that's not something to scoff at from a single ring slot. Life leech from 3 and flash uptime we have we're getting from our flash, and also crit build plus watches I gain charge on crit under precision. And finally for defensive layer we have ensnaring arrow plus slow effect plus meme. This slows enemy movement speed and not action speed, just movement speed to a crawl, and it functions very well for melee enemies, for example like Roas charging on you. Okay, moving on to mastery, ascendancy, and whatnot. Okay, first up is mastery. So this I list some of the important mastery for the build to take. Physical mastery for more attack damage, life mastery, spell suppression mastery, chance is lucky. This is something that you only use during leveling. Mana mastery, reservation efficiency, bow mastery for crit chance as projectile travel further. This is only after you transition to crit, which is like after Merciless Slap. And finally, armor and vision mastery for armor plus evasion rating per frenzy and endurance charge. For ascendancy, first we're taking ricochet for chain plus chance to chain off wall. And actually you can start transitioning to this playstyle after you get your puncture, your snipe, and also preferably your GMP or LMP. Beyond this point, you don't even have to have hemophilia to play your campaign. Of course, having it would be so much better. Otherwise, use rain of arrow plus chance to bleed, because we don't have enough chance to bleed during early game. So you need to use rain of arrows, and preferably not split arrow because it doesn't hit enough to make enemy bleed. And then endless munition for +2 proc, rupturing for to inflict rupture, and you can transition to crit build beyond this point. And finally, gathering wind for movement speed and attack speed. Bandits, we kill all for 2 points. Pantheon, we take Arakali for chaos resistances and reduce damage over time. Or during early game, you take Brian King when you don't have stun immunity and you don't have purity elements for freeze immunity. And minor Pantheon, Soul of Fixlata for life plus. Okay, now we're going to cover the gem setup of the build. And for the gem setup, the main skill, which is snipe plus puncture, using Snipe, Puncture, Vicious Projectile, Deadly Ailments, Volatility and Brutality. So during leveling, as mentioned, you use Snipe, Puncture plus GMP as soon as you're available, preferably after, usually it's after you get first Ascendancy, which is Ricochet. Otherwise, use Rain of Arrows plus Chance to Bleed. And I didn't think you have to. I didn't think I was using Puncture during early game. I can't remember, but it's up to you because it's just leveling anyway. So, something to highlight: playstyle, tap a bit longer for single stage shot for clearing. That is your split arrow vision, and hold button for your full puncture snipe vision. Ensnaring arrow utility. We're using an ensnaring arrow linked with crit chance, maim, and culling strike. So ensnaring arrow slows and apply enemy count as moving, which is very important for bleed bow build, for bleeding builds. Maim for increased physical damage taken, culling for culling, and finally to apply Rupture for Ascendancy, which is why we're using increased crit chance. So something you need to highlight: you only require one snare for the enemy count as moving, but 3 stacks will slow enemy down. And also, another important note is that ensnaring arrow only works when on the target. What did I wrote? On the target when the projectile stops. That is, it doesn't fork, it doesn't chain, doesn't pierce. So, if the projectile chain, the initial enemy hit will not apply ensnaring arrow. However, if there are no further target to chain towards, so basically the projectile would stop and ensnaring arrow would work. So that's the main important part, and part of the reason why you shouldn't have any further projectile modifying behavior on your build. This is true for penetrating quiver, which gives arrow pierce plus 1 target, so you don't want to be using that. Frenzy utility, we're using Frenzy, Mana Forge arrow, Hex touch and vulnerability. So this is fully automated, you don't have to press it. So this gives automatic frenzy charge during early game, and after you transition to Relakash and Maven's Belt, it gives you affliction charges instead during end game. And dash plus second wind, so this is your standard dash setup. Cast when damage taken plus molten shell, standard molten shell setup. Aura, we're using Grace, Pride, Herald of Beauty, War Banner, socketed and corrupted helmet for mana reservation, and using Pretty F elements and low level precision to be slotted wherever you can. You have the slot. The Pretty F element is something that we only turn on after getting Owl's Amulet, and also before you get the corrupted helmet for mana reservation, turn off the low cost aura like precision or war banner, whichever you think is needed to manage your mana, unreserved mana. And finally, we reach the last part, the last segment of the build, which is the gears and explanation. Okay, first up, gear using high phase bow with high base crit chance and at least 1.3 plus base attack speed. This is something you can upgrade gradually over time, and the good thing is you don't have to have +1 projectile on the bow, so it actually can be quite cheaper to gear just to get this one. Quiver, we're using rare DPS quiver, life, and as many DPS rolls as you can fit into. For example, using damage over time multiplied with attack skill, phase damage to attack, increased crit chance, increased damage with bow skills, increased attack speed. So other than life, everything is just DPS. Body armor, we're using normal evasion rare, get high evasion, resistance, and spell suppression, and also use sorry, this one more thing, 6 link rare for endgame, 6 link rare with double influence just. For example, the build is using Pride, has increased aura effect and 10% increased non-curse aura, and also on the base mod we have very high evasion, 3600, and also fire and chaos resistance. This is something I got from grave crafting, so it's actually quite nice to have those mods. Gloves we're using rare to Hemophilia. Hemophilia is a glove that basically gives us the Gladiator Explosion mod, and for endgame we corrupt it for +1 frenzy. Boots, Relocation Impatience, which is best in slot for Maven's Belt, charge stacking shenanigans. So belt, we're using also Maven's Belt, and I would recommend to corrupt it, corrupt a high roll of the Maven's Belt to give plus all rest, so that you makes it easier for you to gear the other slot of your build. For rings, for endgame, we're using rare ring that needs to have open prefix to craft minus mana cost, and also Fist Leech as mana. And the second ring is actually flexible. I'm just using Kikazaru for defense, but you can also use things like Circle of Guilt or Herald of Purity buff effect for offense. But you can also use even another rare to cap your resistances if you are struggling with your gearing. So I already covered here. Second ring slot flexible. Amulet, early game we just use whatever rare we can find, and then we move on to Ungil Summony, which is something that you can use to increase your crit chance by a lot, and it's a relatively cheap unit, so it's very good for early game. And end game we're using Owl's Uprising for Purity of Elements. Anointment, we anoint Disciple of the Slaughter for where is it? Chance to gain Frenzy Charge on kill, which is very great for mapping. It's also the highest DPS anointment for the build. Jewels, we're using Brutal Restraint. Brutal Restraint right here for increased non-curse aura effect, and also where is it? Increased flash charges gain. So flash charges gain and increased aura effect. Watcher's Eye, using gain flash charge on crit and also increase fist damage when using Pride. Jewel, we're using life damage plus reduced curse effect. And Unnatural Instinct is something you put here. It gives a lot of DPS. You can see here, bleed DPS 13% just from using Unnatural Instinct slotted here, because it gives you all this effect of all this node right here. And what else? Thread of Hope. Okay, Thread of Hope. This Ranger 3 section here for endgame to slot plus additional arrows, crit chance, spell suppression, and also some damage and accuracy. And tattoos, we're using 8 of 10% chance to avoid being stunned, so it gives the build total stun immunity. And finally, flask, we're using bleed flask, jet flask, silver flask, sulfur flask, and the last slot is actually flexible. I'm using Quicksilver for MS, or whatever you want. So the suffixes, you want to reduce curse effect, life regen, because I want to maintain high full life uptime, increase evasion, attack speed, or crit chance. Choose whatever you want. For me, I prefer everything but the crit chance for the build. And that's about it for the gear section of the build. Okay, I think that's about it for the build guide for my Puncture Deadeye featuring Rupture. And as mentioned, I really objectively believe this is the better version of traditional bleed bow builds. I'm not really sure why people don't really play this version. Maybe because people are not aware it can be played this way. I don't know, but I hope you really give it a try, especially for traditional bleed bow enjoyers, and then you'll really see the improvement that I was talking about, and hopefully you'd enjoy the build as much as I do. And as usual, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the comment or in the forum section, and I'll reply to you as soon as possible whenever I have the opportunity. And yeah, that's about it. I don't know what else to say, so hope you have fun playing the build as much as I do. Bye!